I was the captain of a wonderful ship called the Swashbuckler. My faithful crew and I spent our lives sailing the seven seas, through day and night, wind and rain, calm and storm. We loved our seafaring ways. There were always jobs to do, and we all took our fair share of the work. I insisted on a clean and tidy ship at all times, and so the decks would have to be scrubbed every day. My crew would be on their hands and knees for hours at a time, making sure that the decks were gleaming. Someone would always have to be in the crow's nest, looking out for any danger that might appear on the horizon. Being the lookout involved climbing carefully up the mast until you reached the crow's nest high up in the air. Then you had to scan the seas around for hours at a time, looking for any sign of trouble. Hoisting the sails was a back-breaking job, but had to be done constantly according to how the wind changed. You had to pull down hard on the ropes to hoist the sails higher or lower. If this wasn't done, then the ship could be in danger of being blown over by fierce winds. As captain, I gave the orders and decided which direction we would sail in. Often, I would sit in the crow's nest with my telescope and look for land on the horizon. Then we would head towards it, hoping to find some buried treasure or something equally exciting. But one fearful night, we found our ship being tossed and turned on waves that were higher than we had ever seen. We were in the grip of a powerful storm that was creating waves that were crashing onto the deck of the ship, almost knocking us overboard. We clung to the rigging and battled to bring the sails in as the ship was being blown from side to side. But we couldn't do it. Every time we tried to pull on the ropes, a wave would smash into the ship and knock us over, sending us rolling along the deck. Things were not looking good. The ship was clearly taking on too much water, and it began to tilt heavily to one side. We all tried to cling on, not quite believing that our beloved ship would sink. But all it took was one more huge wave, and we were all knocked into the sea. We swam about frantically, each grabbing onto something that had fallen off the ship. A wooden crate, plank, or piece of furniture. Then we watched as the Swashbuckler tipped up on its side and slipped slowly beneath the waves. It was the morning after the storm, and one by one we awoke, wondering where we were and what on earth had happened. We were all lying on a beach, surrounded by crates and debris that had been washed up on the shore. As we looked around us, puzzled, we remembered the terrible events of the night before, how our ship had sunk, and we had been washed up on the shore of this small island. Slowly we stood up and looked out to sea, hoping against hope that we might see our ship floating again on the water and ready to take us away. But there was nothing to be seen but water. We were shipwrecked. We decided that we must be positive, have a plan of how we were going to be rescued from this island. We sat and thought about it, until we all agreed that we should build a huge fire and keep it lit day and night. Then, when a ship passed by, they would see that someone was on the island and come and rescue us. We jumped up eager to make the fire quickly in case a ship was passing by that very minute. We ran here and there, picking up any branch or piece of wood that we could find and adding it to the pile. When we had enough to burn, we knelt down and vigorously rubbed sticks together to light the fire. When smoke appeared, we blew gently until there was a spark, and then a flame. Fire. Before long it was blazing with light, and we stood expectantly, waiting for a passing ship. At first, we were hopeful of rescue. We kept the fire roaring day and night, sure that it would not be long before a ship would pass by. But gradually the days slipped by, until a week had passed, and then another week, and another. Then the weeks turned into months, and we began to lose hope that we would ever be rescued. We stopped bothering so much with the fire, and often it burnt down to a few glowing embers before we noticed that it had almost gone out. We had all become thin, having nothing to eat but coconuts and fish. The coconuts were so hard to open, and there was never enough milk inside to satisfy us. Catching fish was also difficult. We would often have to stand for hours at a time in the sea, keeping completely still and waiting to spear a fish that darted past. It was no wonder we were all turning into skin and bones. Months passed, and we all gave up hope of ever seeing a ship again. Then, one day, as we lay hopelessly on the beach, I spotted something on the horizon. I sat up and squinted into the distance. It looked like it couldn't be. It was! It was the mast of a ship! I leapt up, realizing that the fire was burning too low for it to be seen. And I frantically threw wood onto it, building it up as quickly as I could. As soon as my crew realized what I was doing, then they jumped up too and began to help. Soon the fire was burning fiercely, and we all looked hopefully out to sea. Yes, the ship was coming towards us. We were overcome with excitement and began to jump up and down, desperate to be spotted by someone on the ship. But we needn't have worried. We had all been spotted, and the ship came all the way to our little island to pick us up. As we clambered aboard our rescue ship, it felt strange to think that we were finally leaving this island that had been our home for so long. My crew and I leant over the stern of the ship as it sailed away, looking back at our desert island and wondering if we would ever see it again.